All right, so we got to start talking about the kidneys here. Ooh. So, do a little tree map um, of basically how kidneys work and osmoregulation. So maybe that's what we'll title this. Regulation. So a lot of different things going on here. Either they regulate or they conform. So organisms like us, we're trying to adjust the concentration of water in our body to stay within a certain limit, or like things like jellyfish, they just do whatever. Okay, wherever they're at, they just take that. Takes energy to conform. So simple organisms usually don't. Malpighian tubules. That's what insects use. That's their kidneys, basically. Malpighian tubules. Let me. Can I erase? Let me try this. What's that? Try this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Trying to get this better here. You write my bestest handwriting. You can do it, Alan. There we go. That's insects, or as you need to know, arthropods. Okay, that's the kidneys for them. Funny name, but they don't have a blood system, so they have to use a slightly different little deal. We'll talk about that. We need to know renal artery going into the kidney. That blood's going to be different than what comes out in the renal, and you all know this. What's the opposite going away? Going to the kidney is the artery. Going away, probably guess, is the vein. So those two things are different, and you need to know that. The glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule, you'll write that in. They do something called ultrafiltration. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Adding to our list, we have reabsorption. So the kidney filters stuff, but then it reabsorbs it. Interesting. It's not like you figure just take out what it needs to be taken out and leave it at that. No, your kidney removes stuff and then brings it back in. Okay. I think I mentioned it earlier. It's like cleaning your closet. You want to remove everything and then put it back. And some of that reabsorption requires energy, or ATP. And do you remember the process, what it's called that uses ATP to transport? It's called active transport. Like some amino acids and sugars. That's selective. Something called the loop of Henle you'll need to know about. We'll be learning. Loop of Henle. And that keeps things hypertonic, meaning higher concentration. It's a symbol for concentration. High concentration, I should have drawn it like this. High concentration. And so yeah, that keeps things, allows the kidney to reabsorb that water. And something called ADH, antidiuretic hormone, that tells your kidney to reabsorb water. So kind of controls reabsorption. Okay. Osmoregulators, osmoconformers maintain what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, the word was stable. I was like, even, what the heck? So stable internal concentration. And go back to some more chemistry stuff. Solute, solution, solvent. So the concentration is the amount of solute, like salt, you know, that you dissolve in something, or sugar dissolved in a solvent, like water in this case. So the salt together mixed with the water is our solution. And if you're on land, it means you're going to be regulating your salt. So osmoregulators. And osmoconformers do not regulate. They just do whatever is around them. Like I mentioned before, starfish, jellies, lobster, their body fluid. They just go with what they got. So this is interesting. You may or may not know, you know, freshwater fish like up here, very different than saltwater fish and how they deal with their water regulation. You can see here, look at the urine. A freshwater fish is going to be peeing all the time. It's going to be peeing out water constantly. It's going to be dilute, kind of like the urine that we want. We don't want stinky, dark urine. Freshwater fish, they're going to be peeing out very clean urine. We see here saltwater fish, they're not going to be peeing very much, because they're going to be losing water all the time. Water is always going to be sucked out of them. So they're not going to be peeing. They're going to be trying to drink a lot of water to get more water in their body. Freshwater fish, no, they do not want to drink. They're getting plenty of water just coming through all the time. And to explain it, the reason, freshwater, because of osmosis, their cells have a higher concentration of salt. So water is rushing into their cells. So water is rushing in. So they have so much water, they got to deal with that. And so the fish is going to be peeing a large amount. And in that pee, you're going to have ions like sodium, like chlorine, like calcium. So they're going to have to try and recover that. We saw in the picture before, they're going to be exchanging, they're going to be importing with active transport. They're going to be getting that sodium and chloride and calcium back in. Now, saltwater, they have the opposite problem, okay, because of osmosis. A table would be good for this. Their cells are going to have a lower concentration. Let me clean that up. Yeah. Oh no, don't tell me. Can I go back? Shoot. Let me look. So just go back. I figured out. I've edited that post-production, post-video production. I'll fill out that drawing. Or I did, but not yet. But you'll see it. Arthropods. So let's talk about them. They have this. You ever squish a bug accidentally or hit one on your windshield? That goo that comes out of them is called hemolymph. Hemo, blood, lymph is the fluid that we have. Lymph, pus that comes out of blisters, things like that. they don't have blood vessels. They don't have blood vessels like us. They're small enough, they don't need it. And they do create nitrogenous waste though. And they turn to uric acid kind of like birds do. We talked about that the other birds. And Malpighian tubules that line their stomach or their digestive tract will pull out that uric acid, and then it'll go using active transport. And then that uric acid they'll remove with their feces. So basically, it's combining poop and pee, which we don't do. That would be kind of interesting. But remember, our digestive system is totally separate from our excretory system. The way we remove pee from our bodies. So, checking out, this is the Malpighian tubule. This is water. Coming out of that uric acid. Remember, insects have to be very careful with their water supply, so they're going to be getting that water back out just like we do. And uric acid is going to be going in, okay, to these tubes where, boom, it'll eventually come in here. Eventually, in the rectum, it'll be released. All right, so the renal artery is different than the renal vein. Our kidneys regulate that water balance. So removing the nitrogenous waste, excretion. That's the technical term for that, whether it's in the kidney or Malpighian tubules. So blood coming into the kidney from the renal artery, you have to know some differences. So it has high levels coming in. This is urea. The other one will come to me. Urea, water, salt, and toxins. So remember, which isn't what usually, your body's not making those. The toxins your body's making is that urea. Toxins would be other sorts of products maybe your liver's making from breaking down different chemicals you're eating or drinking. And blood leaving has lower levels of all of these substances. And the levels of these substances are usually constant no matter what. You're drinking more water, more water is going to be coming in, but what's leaving your kidney is usually generally going to be the same. And there's less oxygen and glucose, but more carbon dioxide in the renal vein due to your kidney uses a lot of energy, so it's going to use oxygen and it's going to use that sugar. And what's that fancy word for cells burning energy? Metabolic. Okay, metabolic activity. Blood pressure in the glomerulus is very high to get that filtration through the porous. The capillary walls are, there's holes in them called fenestrations. So it's fenestrated, that's the fancy word for it. That might show up. So you get stuff filtering out, that's called glomerular filtrate. Pre-pee. So before the pee gets to the bladder, this is what it is, before all the good stuff is taken back into your body. Sodium, amino acids, urea. Well, actually, no, you don't have amino acids. Well, I know you do. sorry, is small enough it can come through. And water and in the filtrate, that process, ultrafiltration. Most proteins, so those would be bigger than the amino acids, and all blood cells stay in the urine. You never want to see blood in your urine. It just shouldn't be there. I had a buddy in college. He was on the basketball team with me, and he would eat a lot of ibuprofen or take a lot of ibuprofen for the pain, and that can damage your kidneys. And he actually was peeing blood for a little bit. He was telling me. I didn't see it, but that was from damage to the kidneys from ibuprofen. So be careful with ibuprofen. I think that's how you spell it. Advil is the trademark, the brand. Oh yeah, gaps in the wall, these holes. I didn't know I had it here. Forgot. Fenestrations. Fancy word for holes. Okay. 3 parts, 3 layers of the membrane of that capillary of the blood vessel. Let me check. So, about 100 nanometers in diameter. Fluid can escape, but things like blood cells, white blood cells, red blood cells cannot. And the basement membrane, that's what's separating the capillary from the glomerular space. It's negatively charged and forms a mesh. And we know negative and negative, they don't mix, so they're repelled. And we spoke about this in a warm-up, in one of the DBQs in here. Albumin is a very common protein. Remember, it's in egg whites, and it's not going to filter out. It's going to be repelled from there. That's pretty cool. So you don't lose it. These cool things called podocytes. Yeah, you should really check out really cool electron micrograph. I'm looking at the book here on page 490. Shows those, and really interesting, fascinating shape. And they have these finger-like projections that wrap around the capillary and support it and help to filter the blood. So this is where the blood comes in, the efferent. Right. Arterial, where it comes in and then filters out through the afferent. Actually, that's the opposite. Afferent's coming in and it's coming out here, and you can tell. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look, slightly bigger coming in, so you have more volume of blood entering than leaving. So as you might imagine, if you have a large road coming in, intersecting, and then that large road is all going into a small, say, city, like a freeway is going onto a city street, it's going to cause a backup. And that's what happens, and that backup causes the pressure, so you have the filtration going on here. And here, this right here is the Bowman's capsule. Let me change this, there we go. Bowman's capsule. So and here are the podocytes. Look how they're kind of wrapping around the single cell, single nucleus, and they have these finger-like projections. That's a wild-looking cell. I mean, check out all that surface area. Podocyte. Telling you some crazy stuff out there. Not out there, in here. So yeah, this is the kind of the pre-urine. Urine. It still has all that good stuff like the glucose and the water and some amino acids your body's going to want to get back later on. So here's, you know, inside the capillary. So explaining it is inside the capillary. And these are the slits, the holes, the fenestrations, where the blood, not the blood, but the filtrate's going to go. So this is all your filtrate out here. And these are the podocytes. They're on the outside, they're wrapped around supporting it. And all the toxins, all the urea is going to filter out through here.